Y'all, and welcome to another episode of Catch That, where we have music conversations with people deep in music and in the industry, writers, historians, artists, etc. And I am Naturally Elise, and that's my bro.
They are.
And today we are welcoming one of our bestest friends and fellow music lover, writer, historian, and just music encyclopedia, I would say, Mr. Eric Black. Hello, Eric.
Hey y'all! Yeah. No, that was a nice intro. Wow, thank you. Y'all are some of my bestest friends as well.
Oh,
Oh.
We try.
Yeah.
Yes, and why don't you tell the folks what we came to talk about today?
Well, I mean, if you look at Junior's shirt, if you look at the album in the background of Elise's shot, if you look at my shirt, we came to talk about the one and only Miss Mary J. Blige, but specifically the Mary album, which is my personal favorite from her.
Yes, as well as mine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, Junior,
Okay. I gotta say this before My Life is my favorite, but the Mary album is better. Yes. I have admitted that on here. Wow.
I'm just saying.
Yeah. And
one day we'll get into that discussion of what is better, meaning or versus.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's a good, and we can kind of touch on that when we talk about why it's, why you think it's better. We can kind of get into what that constitutes. Yes.
See?
Yes.
So again, we knew that we was when we talked about the Mary album, we already knew who we had to talk to and why. But before we get into all of that, when you first heard Mary, what made her your favorite from everybody? Why?
When I first heard her voice?
Yeah, just her, period. Yes.
I'll be honest. When I first heard her, of course, I heard the Father MC records first, and then I heard You Remind Me, and I was like, okay, this is nice, Heard Real Love, all right, this is dope. But I heard Love No Limit, the original, not the remix. The original, I had What's the 411 on cassette tape, and there were these moments of vulnerability and like the depths in which she expressed herself vocally, and I could tell then, and this was before anybody knew, but I could tell then, oh yeah, this girl is trying to sound like Anita Baker right here. Like, not even trying to sound like Anita Baker, but I can hear the Anita Baker influence, but done in her own way. And that was the first time that I fell in love with Mary. It wasn't the first time I heard her, but I fell in love from that song, and just the way she sang the verses, and then when it got to the vamp and the bridge and the very end of the song, when she's just going off and ad-libbing, I was like, you know what? This is what at that time I thought was missing from a lot of the music that I was consuming. It was because I was still very much into my parents' record collection from the 70s, and I was listening to, we talk about it all the time, Teddy Pendergrass singing with Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes, and he outside still ad-libbing and going in at the end of the song. And that's what I was like, up until that point, like I'd heard people do it present day. Like I heard Coco do it a lot for SWV stuff. But when Mary did it, it was like, oh, you a flat-footed singer. Like you don't care where you at. You ain't gotta have no shoes on. You just stepping outside and singing in the background, just giving it all, like giving it your all. So that was why I fell in love with Mary. I was just like, you feel it. Like I can tell that you feel the music. I can tell that it's not about being a superstar. It's not about being a celebrity. It's really just about expressing how you feel just vocally. And that was the first time I connected. I was just like, yeah, this is my girl for life.
So then from that, the transition to the My Life album, what did you think from there? Did you think that it was like she's here to stay, or it's like, like I don't know.
No. I knew she was here to stay. From What's the 411, if I can be honest. I knew that it was something special about like Love No Limit, My Love, changes I've been going through, and even her Sweet thing redo. Like I was like, oh no, this is you're somebody here to stay, because Sweet Thing was one of those songs like everybody loves Shaka Khan. And that is Shaka's song. Like it's like, oh, you were singing. But after Mary released her version, I started noticing nobody's singing the Shaka version anymore. Anytime anybody sings it, they're doing Mary's ad libs and Mary.
Yeah.
Like they're singing Mary's song,
Yeah.
and it's not her song. And I was like, that's a special ability to be able to take a classic like Sweet Thing by the human horn Shaka Khan, and you can make it your own. And yeah, people hated on it. Like my mother hated it, like hated it. But I was like, okay, you here to stay. And then My Life came, and I was really like, oh, we need to drink together. You know, I was too young to drink. We need to have a drink together, because I could tell this girl, listen. By the time we got to I'm the Only Woman, which is only track 5 on the album,
Yeah.
I was just like, all right, like, again, a flat-footed singer. She's emoting. She's like, there's this vulnerability. Like, she don't care if the notes are pristine and perfect, and if they are like the highest of the highs or the lowest of the lows. She's just singing from her heart, and that's what I love. And not to say that she sounded bad, because I personally think we've all had this discussion.
Yeah.
As a singer, that's what I look for. So that's my favorite. But I know other people will be like, well, you know, sometimes the notes aren't all right. Nah, baby, but the feeling is all there. And if I
Absolutely,
note, that's all that matters to me.
Absolutely.
Now, I will say it's a different. I didn't necessarily think she was here to stay after 411, even though I was in love. I was in love with Mary, but I had kind of seen a lot of people I loved come through that were amazing singers and performers. Yeah. And they had their little one album, even if it did shine, and then you didn't hear nothing else. So it was kind of more of my feel of the culture. Right. I didn't think so. I didn't think it because of her talent, because it touched me in a way, in a huge way, you know?
That same.
Just sat in my Walkman, like living my best little life.
Hello. Sit in front of our little Technics stereo system and rewind that tape and play What's the 411 over and over and over. I mean, literally, like Biggie said, until the tape popped, like literally until I had to buy a new, I had to get my parents to buy me a new one, because I was just like, no, like this girl, there's something special. And now, you know, going back and looking at the hype surrounding her and hearing all the celebrities of that day who were A-listers praising her. And even if you watch the MTV Uptown Unplugged, the Uptown Unplugged on MTV, hearing the words that like Heavy D and Andre Harrell had to say about her, like how captivated they were, like, no, one day, like this is the future. And it was like, all right. And then to see this woman holding it down and this crew full of men, like Uptown was all men. I mean, they had, you know, Finesse and Sinkis, you know, earlier. But by the time Mary came, it was like Mary was the queen. And directly after What's the 411 is when you saw every label scrambling to get that hip hop soul. Yeah, it's almost New Jack, but not quite New Jack. And they wanted to get that young girl who was relatable. Before then, we didn't really have relatable singers on that level, because everybody was in ball gowns and big hair and glitz and glamour, and you know, everybody was a Patti LaBelle or a Shaka, like these vocal powerhouses wearing gowns. And even, I mean, Shaka was a wild child. Shaka was a wild girl. So they say when I was in Chicago, Shaka was a wild girl. But Mary was the first one who was like, this is who I am. I think that album came out close to the time that SWV's It's About Time came out. Yeah. So we saw that shift where, you know, Coco Lee and Taj, they sitting, you know, B-boys dancing in denim and stuff. And we didn't see that. Yeah, Coco, but still women, because Coco had her nails and they were serious about their hair. Like they doobies and all that. Yeah. But Mary was like the one girl that everybody wanted to marry. Like everybody needed a Mary, and that to me said a lot about her impact on the industry.
Yeah.
And that's when I ended up catching on to her when she did MTV Unplugged. When I saw it, I said it's a wrap. Because before then, when she came out with What's the 411, I was like, I loved her. I was like, yeah, you know what I mean? It's a new girl. This is what it is. Me and mom played the tape until the tape pop for real.
Yep.
And then when I saw MTV Unplugged, I said, yep, she's the it. She's it. It's a wrap. It's done.
Yeah.
It's that I keep saying the word vulnerability because that's what I get from her, but it's that willingness to even connect with your audience and not caring if you are, because Mary said this about Whitney a lot, like when Whitney finally started when she ditched the how will I know attitude and she came around to like the it's not right but it's okay. Mary was like, yeah, that shit is, you know, it's, yeah, you was pretty and everything was cool, but now don't care about what they think and don't care about, you know, if they think every note is perfect or if they think you got to be America's princess. Like, sing from your heart, and that's what's real. Mary always gave that, and that's why there's so much respect that I have for her.
Yeah, and the thing about and going back to the to the shift in music, how her and the SWVs kind of
I mean,
switched it. It's like like when we talked to Dart Adams, he was like, on every behind the music, that's the decline.
They called that the decline, and now I get why. At the time I didn't get why, because I was like, no, this is amazing. Now seeing people model themselves after the SWVs or after the Mary J. Bliges, I'm like, yeah, they were modeling themselves after someone, but they weren't able to really connect in the same way. So that was where the decline came in. It wasn't the music they were making, it was the connection that you had to that music and that your fan base had to it. So everybody, you know, if you listen to SWV and you hear Coco, you know, going off, sounding like Mahalia Jackson, because that's her world. You know, she was able to bring the church to a New Jack Swingish feel.
That's Shirley Murdoch.
To Mary, thank you. That's Shirley Murdoch. That's Stephanie Mills. If you listen to Mary, it's the same thing. It was like you're bringing like the soul to this new generation of hip hop. And there are people who were doing hip hop soul before Mary Say herself. You know, Karen Wheeler was the first person that she really thought was like singing over hip hop.
Yeah,
I love Karen Wheeler. And then of course you had like Jody Watley did some like hip hop, you know, collabs.
Yeah, Allison Williams did a little.
Jam. You know, Allison Williams was there. But it didn't feel like it was authentic.
Because they didn't use it right.
Right, they didn't use it right. Even Michelle A on the West Coast, it was like, but that's West Coast, and that's it.
That's their hip hop over there.
Hip hop over there.
Yeah.
For the East Coast, it was like, oh no, this girl is singing, and I think part of it, a lot of it, is honestly the era she was born in. I always say people born between like 65 and like 75, 76, the wealth of knowledge they have, because, you know, growing up, they were listening to everything. I mean, they were listening to the Aretha Franklin and the soul. They were listening to country. They were listening to the soft rock. They were listening to the Michael Jacksons of the world. But then they also were part of this hip hop culture that was just being born. So they're able to move in a different way because they're able to merge the best of all of the worlds. People born after aren't necessarily able to do that because all they know is hip hop.
Yeah. And the unique thing about people born in that time is that was a time when the kids listened to the parents' music and the parents listened to the kids' music. Music
there was
almost damn near equally.
Yeah, the separation happened, but it wasn't as huge and not nowhere near as huge as it is now, because I think my mom is probably like an anomaly. So I riding with her sometimes and she listening to like Beyonce or Lil Baby, and I'm looking at her like, I don't even listen to this, but
I wish Irvina would.
I mean, no, but it's real, but like it's, you know, back then, born between those times, or born I even going into the early 80s, like if you were born, you were listening to what your parents listened to, because the music was marketed for you and not necessarily your children. But I mean, there was no iPod, there were no Walkmans yet. There, like, we had one record player, we got one 8-track player, we got one radio. So what I'm listening to, you gonna
Come
listen
on.
to, and not even that. It's the radio would play like such a plethora of music. Like
Yeah.
it was like you could hear
It's back when
Steely
the
Dan,
radio
and
would
then
make a single
yeah, would make a
because they
single
liked it.
because they
Yeah.
liked it. Yeah, not necessarily the record company being like, oh no, this we gonna push this one. It was if a
The
DJ liked it
DJs
and he
will
played
break
it
a
and people
song.
liked it, it's like, oh wait a minute, this
Yep.
is hot.
And if he ain't like your A side, he flipped that shit
Flip it to the
over.
B. That's right.
He flipped
That's
it,
right.
and so many superstars, like honestly, their careers came from a DJ not liking the A side and flipping that
Flipping to the
and
B
being
side.
like, oh,
That's
you know what, let
right.
me play this, and that's gonna catch on.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely, man. So when now we get the shift to Share My World, right?
Yes.
It's a whole different. Yeah, you see, somebody rolled their eyes. It wasn't me. It wasn't me the time. And so it's the shift. So what did you think about the shift from My Life to Share My World?
I loved it because once again, it was Mary is the trendsetter. Like when What's the 411 came out, she was a trendsetter. Like people started scrambling to get that. When My Life came out, she was still the trendsetter. People were scrambling to get that. Now 97 comes, Share My World drops, and a lot of people didn't know at the time, but Mary wasn't with Uptown. You know, she was now with the parent company MTA. And Andre Harrell was gone. He was Motown, I think, for a couple years. And Puff had already started, very wrong move, but Puff had already started Bad Boy. And Mary had to literally create an entire new team. And it was, if the first album was when she brought that B-Girl, and the second album was when she introduced you to like soul, like, no, these are the depths of my soul. Share My World was like, okay, we ghetto fabulous. I'm still gonna sing you under the table. Like I'm still gonna go off on every song, but you know, I'm in furs and Fendi, and I got the glasses, and I got a long blonde, like the long blonde weave. You know, before it was like bleach, and it was 8 out, just a little bit in the back. I ain't gonna, but you know, by the time Share My World came, it's like, no, we got money to do this now, and just like having Babyface and James Mtume.
I was gonna ask you too. Was these producers did they want to work with Mary then? I'm hearing rumors they wanted to work with her then, but they kind of blocked it. It was like, nah.
No, I think What's the 411, people paid attention to Mary. By My Life, it was like, okay, this girl is serious. And I think it took that for a lot of people to realize that, oh no, this is somebody that I definitely want to work with. Because although she's, you know, a different generation than a lot of, you know, them, she's bringing something that we've not heard in a long time. So if you get somebody like a Babyface, or if you catch the ear of somebody like a Whitney Houston, and Whitney, who is considered, you know, the voice, is like, no, this girl's got something special.
I love her, yeah.
You know, then it's like, okay, let's pay attention, because it's not something that I'm bringing. You know, it's not what Whitney was doing. It's not what even Tony was doing. It was just, I'm Mary. So the producers and the writers and the musicians, of course, they want to work with that. Like, how you get George Benson and Roy Ayers on the same album?
Listen,
you know,
who
like,
does
on the same
that?
album with the Locks, like,
that
then was not something that we heard a lot. Like on the same album, like she's instrumental in bringing hip hop to the mainstream culture, because she merged the worlds of hip hop and R&B, which created this hybrid that now everybody is still doing. Like they're still like, you know, if you go look up right now, like 2020 R&B songs, I guarantee you 50 to 70% of them are actually going to be hip hop songs. But like Mary started that, where you're bringing this genre that you love and you grew up with, who's still that's still a baby, to the mainstream. She was one of the first people that was doing that.
And that's why the rappers respect her so much, because they like, you brought us to the money.
You brought them to the money. And what she did for them also was, like I said, growing up, if you were born between a certain time, at that time, they were all born at the same time. So they were used to the Arethas. Like that's why they say she's the Aretha, because it was like, no, this is what we grew up listening to, like a soul singer, and now Lisa, a soul singer. That right, Junior. She's a soul singer.
I knew it was gonna make it. I knew it.
Was always gonna make it. She's a soul singer, but you bringing it to hip hop.
So with Share My World. It's not even that I think it's bad or anything. I do not connect to the album. The only songs that I connect to on the album are I Can Love You, 7 Days, Share My World. Yeah. And Searching. That's it.
I was just about to say, if you don't name
right, I was
have a problem. But yeah, and I get that. I mean, Share My World was probably the first Mary album where I realized that, oh, there are some skips for me.
Right.
There are only 2 skips on the album for me, really, but still, they skips nonetheless.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, you know, it's not that it's bad. It's just like I'm not really feeling it.
Yeah, and it's crazy. Like I didn't, cause yeah, like with Love Is All We Need, and I know it's Jim Jam and it's Nas on there, whatever. But it just don't do it for me. But I don't think it's bad.
Right.
Yeah, like I don't connect to Missing You.
I skip Missing You actually. If it's not the live version, I don't want to hear it.
And y'all know I don't like no Not Gonna Cry. I can't stand this song.
You know what? I skip that now only because it's like, all right, I've heard it so many times.
Enough.
But mine isn't because I heard it so many times. I do not like that song. I never did. It's crazy.
Stop the shit out of me.
It's so crazy because like Andre Harrell didn't want her to sing that song.
He didn't.
Like he thought when Babyface had the idea, he was just like this girl is still in her early 20s and she's singing about being married for 11 years and divorce and heartbreak. Like, what would she know about that?
And Secretary.
And Babyface is like, she just released My Life. Are you kidding me? Like, it makes sense.
I think he thought it was going to age her in a different way, but it was time to age her a little bit because people forget Mary was so young when she started, but she wasn't like a Brandy where she was America's sweetheart and she was, wearing pigtails or braids. It was like she was young. She was just from the streets as opposed to being like a princess.
Right.
So it was time for her to grow up a little bit by that point. It was time for her to show this different maturity. And the maturity wasn't even on that album. It wasn't even romantic. It was like, if you listen to songs like Searching, it was like, oh no, this is a woman trying to find herself or trying to find out who she is.
But this will make a connection for me. The song on that album that gets you prepared for what the Mary album is going to sound like, in my opinion, is 7 Days. Mm-hmm. That gives you a preview of what's about to come.
A preview because this was 97, so it's around the time that the label of neo soul was starting.
Yes.
And I mean, now we know. We didn't really know up until maybe a couple years after the album dropped, but she had already been working with like D'Angelo, and she had already been kind of molding her sound to be I don't want to say less hip hop, but not as commercial and produced.
She wanted it traditionally soul.
She wanted to more of that traditional soul. So when you listen to something like 7 Days and you're like, oh, like George Benson on his guitar, like, and it's not like this heavy hip hop beat. It's just like, a nice ride. I call that. So in the video, like she's driving the car. I'm like, it's like she's at night with the straw set and the glasses. Like, it's just a nice ride. So that was it. It gave you a nice preview of like, all right, because at that point again, we knew for hip hop soul. By the time Share My World came out, it was still hip hop soul, but she was changing and growing and evolving. So then when we got to the Mary album, and it wasn't Ghetto Fabulous. Like, even like, look at the cover. Like, it was this monochromatic, just Mary with showing her scar, a scar they've always hid, yes,
makeup
on her. and there's no blonde hair. Like
None.
It's Mary, and it's just like, look at me, this is me.
Yeah.
It's I want to say stripped down, which was the same thing that really happened to the music. Like we stripped away a lot of the elements of hip hop. We didn't strip away the hip hop culture because she's always gonna be that, but we stripped away some of the elements and we made it more soulful.
Okay, good. Y'all dope with the transition. This was great because because I'm about to say, Eric, when you first picked up the Mary album, what did you think? How did you feel? What was like, yo, like, what did you feel when you picked up and listened to the album in full for the first time? How did it feel? You know what I mean?
I died about 4 times. I think 5 times. I probably died 5 times. It was almost, it was not almost, it was a breath of fresh air for me, because when you're with someone for the duration of their career since the beginning, like you think you hear things that other people don't hear and appreciate. And on that album, I felt she was showcasing the things that I had always heard and appreciated that maybe everybody didn't. So, and I remember I listened to it in the car a lot because in my house, like I said, my mother wasn't the biggest Mary fan. Like,
Really?
Yeah. So it was, I knew if I went to the car and just sitting in the yard and playing it, I could play it as loud as I wanted. And deep inside was that first song that I really connect. Like I was in the car screaming, like, just like, oh my God, this is what I've been wanting. But it was almost like validation. Like, I knew you could do this. Like, I not even proving to anybody else, but proving it to yourself. Like, I knew you could do this type of music as well, as opposed to the heavy sample based or the heavy synthesized or like the New Jack sound. Like, I knew you could strip it down, and I knew you would have almost like that Aretha effect where, yeah, I can make music that y'all love in the 60s, but I can also make music y'all love in the 70s. And, you had that going for you. Or you could do a Shaka, like, okay, well, yeah, I could start in the 70s, but I could also make music in the 80s that is sonically different from anything I did with Rufus. So I thought with Mary, it was sonically different than anything else. And Elise is totally right. If you go back and listen to Share My World, 7 Days is that song that gave you that preview of, okay, this girl, she might be hip hop, but there's a lot of soul. There's a lot of this. Her voice is like, yearning, like just yearning for something. It could be freedom. It could be happiness. It could be love. It could be just to sit and wallow in your emotions. Like her voice is like, it just expresses this yearning. I compare it to Luther's a lot, because in Luther's voice, you always hear he just wants it. Like with Luther was, I just want to be loved, or I want to love, or I just want to be. With Mary, it was the same but darker. It was like a cloudy day as opposed to Luther's sunny day.
Yeah, and one thing that I think Mary does a lot with her voice on the Mary album is it's like almost a wailing, and that kind of fits into the longing, like I'm in love.
It's this wailing, and when she was creating, so, come on, yeah, when she was creating the album, she said that was her songs in the key of life. That was, yeah, it's still dark, but there's this twisted optimism in the distance. Like, you can see the light at the end of the tunnel. So she's exploring, and she's a mezzo soprano, but she's exploring the depths of her vocal range, and even on, like, well, this wasn't on the US release, but a song like Almost Gone with Layla Hathaway, when Mary is just wailing and moaning, and it's less structured. It's more church than orchestra. And that, I think that is when she found her sweet spot, when she leaned more into, like, just go wherever it goes, because her voice has always done that, but the production had not always done that. The production was always polished in a different way than the Mary album. And when the Mary album came, it was like it was like what Sounds of Blackness say, a soul holiday. it was a soul holiday for me.
So holiday.
You know, come on, like that. You know, it was that. It was like, yo, okay. And this girl is ready. Not even a girl at this point, because now she's really a woman. You know, Share My World. She was still, she was a young woman. By Mary, it's like, okay, you got to get out and pay your own bills. Like, you know, stand on your own 2 feet and show us what you can do. And even with the album, like it was like if Share My World had Roy Ayers and George Benson, and you get to the Mary album, you got Eric Clapton and Elton John and Aretha Franklin and Jada Kiss, like on one album. And then not even that, you got Paulette
and Lauren
singing, and Lauren. You got Paulette McWilliamson singing background. You got Sharon Bryant, Atlantic Star's own, like the greatest singing background for you. You got Audrey Wheeler singing background for you. It was Paulina DaCosta playing percussion for you. Like you have really stepped into this area in life where people are, your voice is yearning, but people are yearning for you now. People want to be a part of the magic that you're creating.
I remember when I got this album and I was listening to it, I said, whoa, this feels different. I was like, this is different. I was like, because it was like me and my mom stared at each other because we thinking when we got this with All I Can Say, we was like, oh God, let it don't be that. I don't want it to be all that. So when we listened to it, me and her was like, Mary, what did we just hear? Like, what is this?
Yeah, it surprised you because you know, of course, All I Can Say opens the album.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Yeah.
But then it's like, and then you go into Sexy, and you're like, oh, I don't think we have really heard a song like that.
We had not heard a song like that. And the thing I love about Mary that people don't know, because you know, they say, you know, she loves Shaka, she loves Aretha, she loves Anita, and yeah, the influence is very evident.
Yeah.
But her love for Stevie Wonder and
Michael Jackson is,
even if you'll hear Chucky Thompson say when they were recording My Life, like she could step into the booth and she knows Michael Jackson songs that nobody else, like deep obscure cuts like that nobody else, and I'm not even talking about from Off the Wall or Thriller, but she knows these songs. And I think by the time we got to like a song like Sexy, and you're like, wait a minute,
saying Mary,
listen, Don't Let Go, Hold Tight. And it was like, it was for me when that song, because that is one of my favorites on the album. But when it started, it was like, oh, okay, Mary, I see what the fuck you doing. Now we gotta have a talk now, because you're transitioning to something totally different. And like, you've always felt the music, but the level in which I feel it now is different. And maybe that had something to do with age. Like, I could connect more to the Mary album than the My Life album, because although I love the My Life album, like at that time I was like, well, you know, ain't nobody broke my heart like that. So I, you know, it's great, but you know, I haven't been through that. Share My World, I was like, well, I mean, you say love is all we need, but I'm doing all right with a peanut butter and jelly, Mary. I mean, so you know, I can't really relate. By the time we got to Mary, it was like, oh, I feel what you're saying, and I feel it on a different level, because I feel what you're saying and I hear it, but I'm hearing like the nuances of your voice. I'm hearing like the way the background is composed. I'm hearing your ad libs. Like, first of all, you are one of the best ad libbers we've ever had. For somebody who was not previously a gospel singer or was not heavily in the church, she was in the church, but not heavily. Like, your ad libs are Aretha level. Like, how? Like, and that's just, I describe it as the spirit. Like, you felt it. And that was what we got. Even like the end of All That I Can Say, if you turn your speaker way up at the very end of the song and you hear her just ad-libbing and moaning and going off, you're like, oh, like I'm waiting for that appreciation. Like, let us hear the unedited Mary sessions. Like, that's
what I want. I want that,
because I felt like they had to keep, you know, like, all right, Mary, we done been here for 17 hours and it's time to go home. We hungry, and she's still in there. You know, it's like, Mary, please let us go home.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder how long they were in the studio making "I'm in Love." Cause she.
let me tell you something.
Come on.
To take a Gap Band song and remake it in a way that people don't even realize that it's a remake, and for you to produce that yourself, because she produced that,
And that's why I said this album made her an artist.
It made her an artist.
Yeah.
And not only that, I think if you hadn't seen her musical appreciation before, or like how much of a student she was of music, by that album you saw it, because the production on there is top level.
Yes,
and
it is.
Then that "When I Reach and Touch Your Hand," like
the ranging,
the background and the instrumentation and then the lead vocal all together. Like, I don't say this a lot because I think he's one of the greatest of our lifetime, Mr. Charlie.
Charlie Wilson, absolutely.
First name Charlie, last name Wilson. You got.
Oh, dude, y'all get me right. All right, you right.
I think that she did what she had to do. It's almost like what she did with The Dream, when she remade A Dream for the Money Talk soundtrack. Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, Bunny the Barge was great, but
she put a stank on that thing.
It was a stank, and she did that with that song, and she did that with "I'm in Love." And when she, like, people still today, if you say, yeah, that was one of the best remakes, they'd be like, oh, that was a remake, because nobody really knows the original. But that also speaks to the way in which she grew up, where she was listening to albums and cuts, and she can appreciate that, as opposed to somebody who, they heard the singles, they playing Diana Ross, and they know Upside Down, or they know Ain't No Man High Enough, but they don't necessarily know the album tracks or the deep cuts, like somebody playing Shaka, and they, everybody knows Sweet Thing and Ain't Nobody, but they might not know a Nothing's Gonna Take Us Away or a Night Moods, because those were like, you had to sit with you had to sit with those albums, and she sat with them. So by the time we got to "I'm in Love," come on.
Like, you bugged me out when one time we would, it was on Twitter, and I love going back to my life. I Never Want to Live Without You. And she did the run of Yachty and the Peoples. I didn't even know that. I was like,
it was like, okay, so you structured the verses in a way where you're doing Frankie Beverly and Maze, "I Love You Much Too Much." Like, that already is blowing my mind, because I love Frankie Beverly, and I love Frankie Beverly. Like, y'all think I love Mary, I love Frankie Beverly. But you structured these verses in a way where you're really just doing what he did on "I Love You Much Too Much." Same words and melody and everything. But by the time you get to the end of the song and you take in this Yarborough and Peoples, a song that wasn't even, people don't know the song.
No.
People don't know "Come to Me." Like, people
don't.
And you hear Mary, "Oh, and then you listen to the original, and you hear, it's like, yo, she took his run. And she does that with a lot of, listen, I say she's a great ad-libber, and she is, but she does that so many times with so many artists, where I've listened to songs and I've gone back and discovered songs, and I'm like, yo, that's Mary. But the song came out in the 70s. I'm like, oh, Mary thinks she's slick. And I'm going to talk to her about that one day. I'm like, oh, you think you're slick? Like, you might know who the original Mary? Like, you took the people run like that, but you made it better. You made it absolutely better. And
it's a deep album cut. That's what makes it so fun.
Because she listens to music. I don't think people listen to, like, I know y'all do. Like, we've all sat in the house for full weekends and did nothing but listen to music.
Right.
And discuss it. But I don't think people do enough of that. And I think that is, people say we losing our recipes. Maybe they burning the cookbooks now. Like, they don't even care about, I'm just saying, they burning the cookbook. So they don't even care about what came before, unless it was hot on the Billboard charts, or it was something with a video, or something that's considered a signature song now. They're not really going back and listening to the music.
No, No, they're not. No, they're not.
And speaking of the charts, I'm just gonna talk about what things were number one when, and none of them were Mary.
Right.
Singles.
None of them.
Right. Just to kind of get a snapshot. So it came out August 99. Mm-hmm. And so at that time, Bills, Destiny's Child was like on a 2-month run of number one on R&B.
Well deserved.
And then Faith slid in there, Never Gonna Let You Go. Eric Benet Tamia, Spend My Life for a couple weeks. Me and Eric's karaoke song.
Wait, which one? Because we got a couple.
One of them, We Can't Be Friends.
Oh, yeah.
RL and Deborah Cox. Baby, let me tell you something. You can't tell me I'm not a member of Next. I don't care what nobody say. I am RL. I might not got the muscles, but I'm RL.
Yeah, we did that.
We did that.
And then, Mariah had Heartbreaker.
Mm-hmm.
What else? You Know What's Up, Donnell, the rest of the year,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And then, in the beginning of 2000, Missy, Hot Boys, Montel Jordan, Get It On Tonight, which actually was #1 for a month. So why don't people talk about that song instead of stupid ass?
This is how we do it.
But Get It On Tonight was a bop, and it was a big record for him.
It was.
For us, not.
Oh yeah, we're R&B charts. We're not
exactly
them.
Yes.
And then you still had Destiny Child, Say My Name, and Maria Santana, and then
about that, yes,
was when Tony he wasn't man enough, and you had Carl Thomas for a couple months with I Wish, so that's kind of what was going on during that time. Right. Just give people a snapshot.
She wasn't, because it debuted at #2. The Mary album debuted at #2 on the Billboard 200. And it actually debuted at #1, I think, on the R&B.
It did.
It did.
The R&B hip hop charts.
It
but she was doing something that was more reminiscent of an artist from a past decade as opposed to the now. It wasn't, she had already set the trend. She had already created the hip hop soul. She had already did the Ghetto Fabulous and the Share My World and the My Life and the What's the 401. So now it's all right, let's move on to something else. Let me, again, for the first, I would say the first 10, 12 years of her career, she was setting the trend that everyone was following. So what she did in 97 with Share My World is what you heard everybody starting to do by 99. All these songs you're talking about are on #1. You started hearing that, oh, Mary did this a couple years ago. So to put that into perspective, listening to the Mary album in 1999 or 2000, you would hear that later from a Jill or an Erica. You would hear that on India. You're oh, yeah, Mary did this a couple years ago. That was how it was. That was how the world was moving in terms of popular music. Was she, for a time, was not chasing the trends, she was creating them, and then she was moving on. And it goes back to what Junior was saying about her becoming an artist. I think that's part of her artistry. Well, it was at that time. Okay, let me explore something else. I don't want to do what everybody else is doing. I want to do what I want to do. And if you on board, you're on board. If you're not, you're not. Just catch me on the next ride. So that was her MO for a while. And that also was one of the reasons that I became such a fan.
And you see, like you said, everybody started following her after the Share My World, because all those songs that Elise talked about that was on the charts was from Rodney Jerkins. A lot of people go to Brandy of him working with her first. No. He worked with Mary first.
He worked with Mary. And that was the beautiful thing about Share My World was she was able to get who she wanted. Not saying that the people that she wanted were not on What's the 401 of My Life, but that influence of Andre Harrell or even Uptown or and Puffy, they were gone. So now you can do what you want to do. You got your sister Latanya as your manager. Y'all working and y'all moving in your own way. So by the time the Mary album come out, you really working and moving in your own way, because now you're into a groove. So just as My Life is the debut and Share My World, My Life is What's the 411 is the debut. My Life is the sophomore. I consider in some ways Share My World to be another debut and the Mary album to be another sophomore album, because now you really are going at it alone.
Yeah.
And the only, this is funny, the only producers that she kept from Share My World to Mary is Babyface, Jimmy Jam, Terry Lewis,
right,
and one Chucky Thompson.
And Griffin.
Kamaya, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, because it was it was
She didn't bring Tone and Poke. Poke and Tone. She didn't
She did
bring
not.
Rodney Jerkins.
No,
No.
no, because and not to take anything away from them because they are phenomenal, like some of the best that have ever done it. But they could not craft that sound that she was looking for. It's just like who I love that's on a producer on the album is Rich Harrison because
Yes,
beautiful one. Yes.
we're so
yes,
used to the go the pots and pans sound that A. Marie popularized from Rich. But every time he's worked with Mary, like he worked with her on the No More Drama within the meantime,
Yep.
like he gives her something different. It's not his normal, it's not his usual, and like beautiful ones. That song, I've probably cried to that song a few times because I can just feel how much she wanted it. And she actually walked down the aisle in her wedding to that song. And I was like, bad bitch move, walking down the aisle to your own song. Like
You walked down to that one?
she walked down the aisle to Beautiful One, and
I thought she did. I found my everything.
no, because that didn't come out to 2005, but she got married in 2003.
Ah.
So she walked down the
gotcha.
aisle to Beautiful Ones. And even that song, just like when it starts with the guitar and she come in on her Tony Braxton, oh no. Yeah, her Renee, oh no. It's like, okay. And then by the time we got to the end and she's like, you are my love, you are my life, you are my diamond, you're my flower, you're my everything. And the way she's singing it, it's like, I was just like, I'm looking at my mom and my daddy like, why don't y'all show love like this? Like, what's wrong with y'all? Like, this is real love. What all that shit y'all got going on is fake. It was like this almost like an emotional turmoil, in a way, because it was like you could hear that she just wanted it. And you knew she didn't have it, but she wanted it that much that she's able to sing this song. And for Rich to produce such a beautiful song, it's like mind-blowing.
And I knew with that, and when I heard that the first time, I knew Chucky had to be a part of that. I knew it.
Yes,
I was like, you felt it. I was like, that and I'm in love. I was like, no, Chucky's a part of it somewhere.
To the commentary from the 25th anniversary of my life, or the album with commentary, and she talks about a lot about Chucky was one of those producers who would just get her in the studio and let her do and go wherever she wanted to go.
Mm-hmm.
And that song, you can feel that, like, she just singing from her
yeah,
like,
let her loose,
Yeah, just let us say turn her loose. Like, it's one of those things where a lot of R&B singers, and I'm saying R&B because that's what I love, but a lot of singers in general probably, they're scared to be loose. And Mary was never scared to be loose. Like, she was never scared to go.
He was like, he would just hear her crying in there. And
just crying.
She would be crying and just going in. Like, he was like, if you listen to and when she said on the 25th thing, she was like, if you listen to I Never Want to Live Without You, that's why I know I connect to it so much. Yeah. Because I hear her crying on that record. Like, I hear her.
You can hear it, and then when Faith come in with those harmonies, and LaTanya and Casey and JoJo, it's like you can hear her, and I keep saying the word yearning, just like yearning, like that's all she wants. Like, all Mary ever want is to be loved, and to love in return. That's why so many songs of hers have that theme around love and receiving it and giving it just as much as you receive it, which is also why when people be like, oh no, she's the queen of heartbreak, and
I hate that.
I'm like, but listen to her catalog, she's really not. Like, most of her songs are love songs. Like, I think Not Gonna Cry, that took over, and it was like, oh no, she hate men, and it's like, she's never bashed men.
But it was Waiting to Exhale, though.
It was Waiting to Exhale. It was for the movie.
Yeah.
And if you listen to the soundtrack, a lot of those songs
were bashing dudes. Like, it was what it was. With it fighting it.
I'm just saying, nobody ever said Toni was the queen of a heartbreak or anything. I mean, it's like, but some of her, she came out the gate talking about 7 whole days and not a word from you, it's like, or love should have brought you home last night. It's like, well, why, what? Or he wasn't man enough. I mean, come on, unbreak my heart. Like, that should be the queen of the heartbreak.
And it's interesting how they tag certain things on people because, like, I was talking to Bro the other day about that that is so strange to me that Sade got this label of having depressing music.
Yeah,
I would say
yeah.
less than 25% of her songs
Less
are
than
sad.
25%. And it's like, well, why did she get that label? Like, why are we so quick to assign these, and they're asinine, these asinine
Yeah.
labels to people's music when
Absolutely.
that's not a full representation of the material they're putting out? And I think a lot of it is because we want to connect in a certain way to someone, so we create our own narrative about their life and their music. And I'm like, well, that's not really what's going on here.
I think
And then people be like, I like sad Mary. I like happy Mary. I'm like, shut the first,
Yo,
that
that
pisses me
bothers me
off.
so
first and
much because
foremost,
oh,
shut the fuck up, first and foremost. And then the rest will follow after that. Like, just
I agree. I
because
agree.
I like, what do you mean you want sad Mary? Because honestly, they were saying they want sad Mary and they didn't like happy Mary. But if you look at her life, like to now, a lot of the stuff that she was making during the happy Mary era, she was miserable in a
Miserable as
marriage,
hell.
begging for this man to love her. Yeah, happily married. And they're like,
Thank
oh no,
you.
she happy. We don't like her. No. She's doing the same thing she's did on My Life. She is begging and pleading and trying to come to grips with a man who does not necessarily want her, but
Want
she
her.
loves him.
Yep. That's why I love Growing Pains so much because she's begging him like, yo, you that's why I knew there was some shit going on.
Yeah.
When that
Yeah.
album came out, I said, uh-oh,
Yeah,
what the
listen.
fuck is going on here?
I think
yeah.
Growing Pains on, it was like, it's either I'm begging you or this is a warning. I hope you're listening. Like,
Right. Because the only really, if you want to think about happy, the only ones that really was Love and Life, to be honest.
Love and Life was happy. And I love Love and Life. I know people got beef with Love and Life.
The older I get, the more
I know what people's problem is, and I know what's wrong with Love and Life, but I love Love and Life. But yeah, that was her one album where she was just like, I'm happy. And then, but if you look at the charts, like Love and Life was doing well. So no, you do like Happy Mary because you was singing Love at First Sight. You was talking about it's a rap. Like,
People
that was
just
Happy Mary.
people hear somebody say one hot take one time and then
And
they
run
all of
with-
a sudden
it's that groupthink mentality. Like nobody wants to think for themselves or be an individual. Now it's like everybody wants to fit in and be seen as equal, so they tend to go with what other people say as opposed to how they really feel.
I think that too, that Mary connected to the women so much in the hood, and they connected to her,
Yeah.
and she's like their battle cry on how they feel.
Because
So all of a sudden it's like she's the queen of heartbreak.
She was the first one out of, and I'm gonna say every singer that existed before Mary, every popular singer that we know today, she was the first one who did not neglect that part of her or that audience, like the round the way girl or the girls from where they grew up. It's much like Aretha was the first one who did not neglect the church and soul. So that's why she became known as the Queen of Soul, because she didn't neglect the church when she got on and she was doing her thing. She brought that with her, just like Mary brought the hood with her. And Mary was always trying to connect with the people where they were. She was trying to meet them where they were. She was like, fame is cool, but once, you strip down all that shit.
Yeah, which is fitting that she has Aretha on this record.
Ooh.
And not only do she have it, they just in there just
singing.
They just singing, and it ain't polished. It's just a big old rasp fest. It's just
thing.
Because if you hear when Aretha first come in, she goes, and they keep it in there. Like it's like
did
Aretha just go for what she started?
About that song in particular was, the Aretha comparisons have been coming since people started calling her the Queen of Hip Hop Soul in '92, and then when she remade Natural Woman, it was like, okay, Aretha comparisons, and then she remade Sweet Thing, Shaka comparisons, and the Rolls Royce comparisons or the Gwen Dickey comparisons with I'm Going Down. Aretha was the first one to embrace and work with her And I think that opened the doors for the Shakas and the
Yeah, because
Patties.
Shaka dissed her now.
Yeah, I mean listen, Natalie Cole used to diss her and she remade Natalie Cole's song. Everybody had dissed her, and Aretha was one of those people who saw and heard what it was. She heard what it was. It wasn't even seeing. Because Mary tells the story often, like when she first met Aretha was like, "What's up, Choppy?" And she was like, "I don't know what that means." And she was like, somebody had to tell her. That's what the old head said, if you could sing. So Aretha was acknowledging, like, I'm listening. I hear you. I see you. Like, keep doing what you're doing. So for her to bring her on that album, the Queen of Soul and the Queen of Hip Hop Soul, talking about don't waste your time, and Aretha in there with spaghetti straps on and this heavy list talking about sister girl. It's like, okay, y'all know I'm a comedian. It's like, all right, this is some soulful stuff. And then even fast forward to years later when Aretha released her album Jewels on the Crown, which was the duet with all the people that she had done duets with before, like Lauryn Hill and a Rose or Fantasia would Put You Up. Aretha turned down Mary's vocals because Aretha, it was the Aretha show. If Aretha wasn't number one, and nobody was gonna be number one.
As when they did that horrible Whitney duet.
Yeah. What are you talking about here?
Oh, that duet should have never happened. But Norda said, "Oh, Aretha, when Whitney left, she said, play that part again."
Play it again, yeah. What was that song called? It wasn't and never and ain't what?
Yo, it shouldn't have never been. That's what it was called.
Oh. Well, rest in peace to Whitney and Aretha. Isn't that crazy to say rest in peace to Whitney?
Right. Ugh.
Yeah.
That's why they burning the cookbooks.
Yeah, burning them. So Eric, what is like your favorite, or like, I won't even say favorite, the song you go to the most on the Mary album? I won't even say favorite.
It's The Love I Never Had.
So that's mine too, and I knew you was
Mine too.
And so the reason I sneaky no. So what the thing that made that song stand out to me is I went to this tour, and it was like the first leg of it, first couple weeks, and she closed. Well, the first closed. She closed with The Love I Never Had, and she listen. She was in a room with people. We didn't know the song because it's not like now where you can get it streaming the same day. Yeah. A lot of people hadn't even got the album yet.
Got the album yet. They were going on the strength of her name and the strength of the singles that had been released. Yeah. Without actually hearing the material. So when she get on stage and she's singing The Love I Never Had, and she's talking about shoe fly, don't bother me.
Yes.
Away with all your negativity.
Woo.
Like, and it's like shoot.
Yeah.
Like, and no, she was in the zone on that song, especially. And I think that's why it's my favorite on the album, or the one that I go to the most, because it's hard to say a favorite because I love almost the whole album. But and it, it's like Paulina DaCosta, you got Jam and Lewis.
Right.
Like
Big Jam, right.
This live instrumentation sound that people were saying Mary could not do before. Like with Mary, what's bothered me a lot about her career is they give her little by little. It's like she comes out and it's like, okay, yeah, this sounds good, but What's the Phone one comes out? Yeah, this sounds good, but without these heavy hip hop beats, and she don't really have any depth. Then My Life come out and it's like, okay, well, yeah, I guess she could, but it's so sample heavy. So, she could never work with like any of the greats. And then Share My World come out and you hear Roy Ayers and you hear George Benson, and you're like, okay, yeah, that's cool. But everything's so overly produced. She could never do like a live instrumentation type thing. And then the Mary album comes out, and then they're all right. I mean, okay.
It's always an excuse.
It's always an
excuse. Then after that, they're
like,
well, we don't like Happy Mary. They're like, this ain't no Happy Mary.
This ain't no Happy.
Or we miss the hip hop soul.
We miss the hip hop.
Now we miss it.
It's the hip hop that you were dogging her for.
Right.
Now you miss it, and it's too R&B, and you don't expect her to be so R&B. Yeah. And it's like, well.
And the Mary album is a very depressing. I mean, every song is.
It really is.
it's like therapy because it makes you feel even when you don't want to feel. It makes you discuss and go places that you may not necessarily want to go to. Um, even like a song like Memories, um, just the way it starts, sitting here all alone on Valentine's Day, and then you got no happy holidays. I don't know who Mary was dating in '98. I think I know who it
I
was,
think I know who
but I don't
too.
want to say it. But listen,
Nope.
he didn't spend no holidays with Mary because by the Mary album, she was talking about Christmas, Thanksgiving, Valentine's Day. Mary didn't like holidays. She didn't celebrate them. She was a Jehovah's Witness like Janet, so she didn't celebrate those types of things. Much love to you. It was one of those things where, like, she was so
She was
her
being
real life
touched and
experiences
teased.
really fueled her music. They've always fueled her music. And I think that is one of the things whenever I complain about music today, it's because I'm saying, yeah, y'all love this, but this ain't their real life experience. It's something somebody else wrote.
Yeah.
And they're singing and some of them can emote about it, some of them can't. But this ain't real. With Mary, especially by the Mary album, baby, it was all real all the time. Like the highs were real, the lows were real, like literally and figuratively. The highs, everything was real. So, so when you got that Stevie Wonder influence, or you got that Michael Jackson, or you got that Aretha Franklin, or even when you got that Elton John, or you got that the yearning for love, or you got the I'm done with love, or you got the realization that this love just ain't for me, like the love I never had.
Mhm.
It was like she's authentically being herself. She's showing up, and I think that's one of the major reasons why but many other people just connected to it.
Then it's with you saying being real, I think she finally was able to cuss out KC like she wanted to.
She
And she
was, and
did.
I hate, I love I'm Looking. I hate that they did not record it in the studio together,
Right.
because in my mind back then, listening to it, I was just like, yeah, she finally gave him what he deserved. It was
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, they recorded it in different studios at different times, but that duet, because I don't care what nobody say, at the time in '92, for male vocalists, KC; for women vocalists, Mary. Like they were the two that this is raw soul, this is emotion, this is whatever. And I think the Uptown performance proved that to unplug.
Yep. That. Yep.
But
Yeah.
to hear them two together in '99 on that song, and yeah, the song starts off with him, well, but then when it closes and
All
she
that North
says,
Carolina
I
came.
know
you're
you're sorry.
Locust.
I,
That's the highlight of the song. I know you.
I know you're sorry. Like,
yes.
okay, Mary.
So, on this album, if you had to take a song out
Mm.
or two, what would it be?
Give Me You.
Me too.
Listen, Diane Warren is great. Like she's a prolific songwriter, but that was around the time '99 that everybody wanted a Diane Warren.
Yeah.
Like Brandy had hers, Escape had theirs. Like everybody wanted these huge power ballads. And I think with Mary, not saying she can't do a power ballad, but that didn't work in the way that I wanted it to work. Just because it's kind of it's boring. There's no personality in it until you get to maybe the bridge and the ad libs. But then even the way it ends, like it was polished, Mary. And the thing I loved about Mary was that you're not polished. So why are you trying to be polished? And then to take it a step further, you get the video and you got Michael Jordan and
yeah,
kids, and it's like, Mary, what is this? Like this don't make no sense. And
then
but you know
when she was
going with it, it's like
that was her being an artist. That was her trying to be.
That was her trying to, yeah. And it's like, no, like I would take that song off and watch if you look like that.
I hope it's one that I was gonna say.
No, you know what? That when I played the album today, I skipped two songs. One of them because I don't like it. That's Give Me You. I listened to it this morning though. I listened to the whole album. But the second would be I tend to skip Your Child, but it's a great song. I just got tired of hearing it, and
it's a Mary song.
it's a Mary song. Yeah. So I skip it sometimes, but other than that, I think those are the only two that really.
Too bad.
Listen.
Ooh. That's my sing dramatic song. In fact, I've been on IG singing that
song. Listen.
When JR bought me that record, the first day I had it, I was on Instagram singing along to your.
Listen, it's a great song. I tend to skip it, but
I get it. Yeah.
That I think now that I don't hate "Give Me You." It's just like this could have been left off the album because it doesn't necessarily fit. It doesn't fit because I don't feel it in the way that I feel the other songs on the album. And again, like you're not.
It don't fit the album
in this way. Yeah, like you're trying to.
That's why it's at the end.
Yeah.
But that's why I think that Almost Gone should have made it. To me.
Yeah, I mean, and the people
even as an interlude.
Even as an interlude, the people in Japan are lucky because to hear Layla and Mary together, and I mean, Layla is, I'm just gonna say, one of the greatest singers of my lifetime is Layla Hathaway, and that's a direct result of who her father is. I don't know anyone else. And there are a lot of famous musicians with children who sing. Layla is the only one I know where you close your eyes at some points and you might think Donnie is back and he is.
Yeah.
And it's like there's this talent that Layla has, and Layla has what Mary has. It's the vulnerability, where this is me and this is what it is. I know now she says like her first project or two were, labeled stuff. So I still love them, but by the time you get to something like Outrun the Sky, and she's singing We Were Two, which I play We Were Two and The Love I Never Had back to back all the time because they're the same song. Just they were in a zone. And even I'll tell you something else about The Love I Never Had. If you listen to Prince's I Hate You, and you're like, is this the same, song? Like, and I'm still doing my research on it. Like, the only connection I have is like, okay, Jam and Lewis and Prince,
right,
but like, there has to be a deeper story there because the songs sound too similar for it just to be a coincidence.
But just like you said, Mary is such a music head. She, because everybody swear to God when it comes to her, it's just like you said, the Aretha, the Shaka, the this.
No.
Mary love everybody.
Baby,
everybody.
Mary will listen to Led Zeppelin.
Yes.
She will play Grand Poobah, and then she will play Steely Dan, and then she will go to a Shirley Caesar. Mary
and then play AC/DC. Like, Mary is like, listen.
Even that, like, if you go to her, like, watching her on social media now, I do love, because Mary keep her ear to the street. So when you see her in the video and she dancing and rapping along with Cardi B or the Baby, it's like, yeah, I don't listen to that, but Mary is still. Like she hears things, and I love the fact that her ears work in the way that they do.
Yeah, absolutely. So with that, what is the impact of this album to you? And because the reason why I asked is because Mary act like this album don't exist to me. She really does, because it's now y'all know, like I said, my life is my favorite for me. It is. But I'm getting a little annoyed with everything being about my life. I know that's your baby. I get it. I understand. But this Mary album, when you became a damn artist, like, why don't she?
It doesn't matter. Let me tell you this.
What?
Mary almost ignores 90% of her catalog.
She does.
My Life is her golden child, and I'm not sure if that's because she really has a serious connection to it, or because of the narrative around the album that she's milking it for what it's worth.
Right.
I get it. I'm tired at this point in my life.
I am.
Love the album, but like I went to the 20th anniversary for 4 nights when you sang the whole album. It was like, oh, great. And you had a perfume and you called it My Life, and then you and Puff got back together and y'all called it My Life too. And now we got this documentary. I'm gonna watch it. I'm
oh, absolutely. Amen.
But it's like, all right, you ignore Share My World, the impact that had. You ignore Mary. You ignore, I mean, for the most part, No More Drama. You will sing No More Drama and Family Affair because that is when you became a pop icon.
Yeah.
I don't know if y'all. I just posted a video on Twitter of her singing everything at on the All That show on for Nickelodeon, and I was like, they don't know who Mary is, and people were like, no, they do know Mary. They did know Mary, and then as I go to their pages, I'm like, you were too young to actually be there and know that Mary wasn't like this is revisionist history. Mary wasn't a pop icon until
2001
No More Drama and Family Affair.
Because she was us.
She was ours.
He was us.
And then if you had people like Eric Clapton or you had people like Elton John, that's because they were listening. Like you didn't have the everyday white person running around playing and singing Mary J. Blige. You know, unless you were in the music industry, that wasn't your life, and that's okay. It wasn't you. It wasn't your life.
Can you say that though? Because I'm saying Mary sold like I think she sold 4 million. Share My World, 4 million of My Life, all that. Do y'all really think that was all of us buying it? Honestly,
I think so. I think it was us, and it was people who were in the music industry and who.
So you don't think it was?
It wasn't commercial yet.
Right.
Let me kick something to y'all because I am older than y'all, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So when that came out, okay, I didn't go to a black school, and them white kids, they was not listening to Mary. I would say Mary J. Blige, and they'd be like, "Who?
Same. We had the same experience. Exactly. So that's what I'm trying to tell. I'm trying to tell people like, no, I was there. Even with the Mary album, even though we loved, like Elise said, she named all of the number ones. Mary wasn't one of those.
Nope.
Where was she number one? On the R&B and hip hop.
Right.
That it was. We were listening to Mary. We knew who Mary was. We felt the Mary album. And I will say this too, the Mary album was so unique for me because it was the first time she had as many remakes as she did on one album. And with each remake, you couldn't tell that it was a remake because she embodied the spirit of the songs that she remade.
Yep. And even if you ask white folk now what Mary songs they know, it's going to be
Family Affair.
Yeah, the only like older Mary that they're gonna say is Real Love, and the occasional sophisticated white might know the Sweet Thing.
Yes, that's it. And
because they know Shaka. Because white people like Shaka.
Exactly, and that is a distinction that I try to tell people. Like at that during that time, there were superstars like Mariah and Mary, and even by that time, a Tony that white people knew, like just. That's who I'm listening to, or that is who is they're palatable in pop music, so we can play them.
Right.
You really couldn't play I Can Love You on the pop station at that time. No. You really couldn't play You Bring Me Joy or Be Happy on the pop station at that time. And by the time you got to the Mary album, they weren't playing All That I Can Say. They were not playing Deep Inside. They were not playing Your Child because that wasn't something that was palatable or relatable to them.
But even our black ones wasn't playing like Deep Inside though. That's why Mary said she was heard.
And listen, Deep Inside, the song and the video. Actually, I might have to change my answer.
Well, maybe Mary was mad because let me tell you where they did play Deep Inside. Adult contemporary.
Yeah.
This is the thing.
They did.
By the time she released the Mary album, she went from being the queen of hip hop soul and like hip hop's darling and being played on, the top 20 to, you playing on urban AC stations because now it's grown, it's sophisticated. Yeah. It's grown and sophisticated, and it's not what will work for our audiences. So that was one of the things that I think did her in a little bit because Deep Inside, the song and the video are among that's like one of my favorites on the album as well.
Me too.
Like a song that I always go back to. As a matter, my favorite lyrics from the album come from Deep Inside.
Yep.
Like the whole song, but especially the ad libs at the end when she's like, if I could give you something else, but I can't give you nothing but me. Yep. I'm just me all day and all night. It's like, this is real. Like, this is how you feel. This is real. But and it's the truth. It was the yearning. Like, I want to give you what you want, but I'm just me. Just take I mean, we found out in 2005, take me as I am or have nothing at all.
But do y'all know Deep Inside is the song I always skip though?
Oh,
I didn't say I didn't like it.
Y'all ready for me now? Okay. 1 minute. At least fucking up, so I'm gonna be there in a minute. No.
No. I don't dislike it.
Dislike it, but you.
I love it. I think it's great writing. I just said that's the one I skipped because I don't have to hear it ever again. Ever.
I think I listen to it a lot. The lyrics, especially the second verse.
That second verse, come on.
She says, so I made the choice to be good to those who are
good to me.
Don't judge me or think I'm bitter, for the evil gods allow me to see. That is a lyric, like if we talk about lyrics that we've known forever that have stuck with us,
yes,
that lyric has stuck with me for life, and I will always use it as life's philosophy. I think that the Benny and the Jet sample, of course, I love. But then by the time the video came out and she got the short red hair and she's wearing the gown and she's just trying to chill. And then the dance break.
Gives us sincerity.
Yeah. And it was like, Mary, you can't dance like that. But okay, girl, do what you got to do. Yeah, like, and she was.
Right.
Like a little magic. It's like, okay, Mary, all right, girl, we love it. But that song, I think that was a statement to the world that y'all fell in love with me with What's the 411. I was, heralded as the new whatever, and I was the future. By My Life, it was This Girl Is So Soulful. By Share My World, it was now she's glamorous, and it's the Fendi and the jewels and the everything. But then it's like, but deep inside, I'm still just me. And part of the reason that I can't find the love that I'm always singing about is because y'all see one thing, but I'm really another. And I just want to be loved and accepted for who I am. And that was the first song from the album that I really, like when I said I used to sit in the car and listen to it, I would play Deep Inside. And when the first note, doom, I would just start screaming and I would feel it all over my, it was like I was at a Shirley Caesar concert. I ain't even gonna lie.
That's some real, that's some real, that's real.
This is some real stuff that I'm singing about. I don't think I ever skipped Deep Inside, but I can see why it will be a song that you'd be like, okay, it's not a bad song, but I just don't want to listen to that. I can see it. And
it is more for the Benny and the Jet. It's just
but I love Benny and the Jet. Like
no, I love that. No, I'm a big Elton John. Elton is up here. No, it's a thing. But it's just something. I don't know. It's just
and Mary's Elton's favorite singer. So
yeah.
Right. Him.
Mary is a lot of people's favorite singer, which I love.
Yeah, but I love how Mary is singing on it. I like how it's arranged. I just
singing like Renee. The problem is for me. It's like because even though mezzo soprano or not, like her lower range, I think this, which is why Almost Gone with Layla works so well. Layla have in all of music, and I'm being real, in all of music, popular music that most people know, Mary and Layla, their lower ranges, and this might surprise y'all, Mary, Layla, and Beyonce, I give it to those three because your lower register is so pronounced and it's so dope, and I feel it when you sing in that. And when she's singing Deep Inside, I'm like, okay. Like that mean like when you listen, when you get in your lower register and you singing like that, that means it's something you really feel. So anytime I hear any of my favorites sing in their lower register, or even people who are not my favorites, I'm like, oh, you feel it.
And actually to bring it contemporary, like one thing we love about artist Carmen Rogers with the EP she just put out. And we talked to her about it too, because we interviewed Carmen, and when we talked to her, we were like, so we noticed how on this EP you is like really trusting your lower register, and you pulled it off. Like, and she was like, that was something that she was exploring.
I love Carmen. My favorite Carmen Rogers song is actually called "It's Me," and it's when she couldn't sleep last night thinking about it's her lower register. And I've actually been around her a few times and drank and everything. And I just think it's like the depths of your soul when you're singing that low. It's almost like you're really bearing your all. Like think about even Mariah. Like when Mariah gets to her lower register, because everybody know her, like she can do the whistle notes and all that. But when she
Not
hit that
now.
lower register, you're like, oh, Mariah mean business.
I told y'all that recently. When Mariah's in that particular pocket, I'm
Oh, I'm in.
all
We
in.
in.
I'm
We
all
in.
in because
like when you
it's
go back to those
so
rarities,
beautiful.
the more R&B-ish songs.
Yeah.
Like,
It listen, Shaka, Shaka didn't do this back in the day as much, but now when Shaka trouble little angel, it's like, okay, Angel, like what's going on? You know, it's the lower the lower register, especially for women, that I think that they are kind of expressing just the depths and even the turmoil of everything they've been through, even if it's a happy song, like when they sing her, like Beyonce's Superpower with Frank Ocean. People hate that song. I love it because I'm like, yo, like that's some real stuff. Like you can
Mm-hmm.
feel, um, not only can you feel it, I think you can also hear the vocal quality of people when they sing in the lower register, which is why even though I don't get why, and I hope y'all audience don't hate me for saying this, I don't get why a certain singer is called the vocal Bible, because it don't make sense to me, like whatever. But when she's singing her lower register, I'm like, no, that's some stuff I can hear and feel. When Jasmine Sullivan hits her lower register, let me tell you something.
Whew. Uh,
God is in the building. And when God is in the building, God is in the motherfucking building. When Jasmine hits, y'all know I'm a fake Christian. I'm not really. Y'all know, and I cuss and I drink. I
oh,
drink and I know
listen.
things.
and I know things.
I drink and I know things. Yes, when Jasmine hits her lower register, when Mary hits her lower register, or when Layla hits her lower register, I think there's like this beauty in it because of the expectation of women vocalists.
When Jill go to the
When
lower,
Jill, I've been told.
Damn, I forgot all about Jill. Yes.
And it's because the expectation for women vocalists is you need to be able to hit all of the high notes, and you need to sing and be a soprano and do this, which is why a lot of the and I don't care the backlash that I get from it. A lot of the singers that we consider to be the greatest singers of all time, or that collectively are considered to be the greatest, is because there's singers who sing in a higher register. It's just like if you're listening to R&B and you're hearing, like, even though Luther can do a great lower register, there's this comfort that people get from even hearing men singing their upper register, like
Mm-hmm.
the Luthers and the Charlie Wilsons. Like you can hear, or like the Maxwells, or even the D'Angelos. It's like we consider that to be like the gold standard, but when people get, especially women, into that lower register, that's when it's a favorite for me. And I think for a lot of the album, for the Mary album, that's what Mary did. She got there, but she was still able to go anywhere that they would take her. And especially by the time we get to the last song, the last song on the American release, "Let No Man Put Us Under."
Mm-hmm.
Oh, not the yeah. It's like you sound just like Rachelle Fleming. How do you sound like somebody who made a song some 20 something years before you even recorded it? It's one of those things where you have to be like, wow, like there's a deeper connection to the music than even I realize as a listener. Like you can tell that the artist really connects with it.
mm-hmm. Yeah. So we've come to my personal favorite part of the show,
I'm spoiled.
Yeah.
and it's our word/song association. And today I'm going to give you some Mary albums,
Mm-hmm.
and you tell me either the first song or thought memory associated with that album. Okay. All right. So we're going to start off with the tour.
Raw.
She
raw.
had her cigarettes and 40s
Let me
before
tell you
that.
something. What tweet said? Newport, Winston-Salem, Marble Light.
Yep.
Mary had them all at once. She was Mavis Staples.
Smoking like a
And
fucking
all
nut.
you heard was the rasp and the rawness. Pack a nine. Like all you heard was just this raw emotion, and you were able to hear her connection with her fans. And even though she hates that album now, and she hates listening to it because she's like, I sounded horrible. I'm like, no, you sounded like what you were supposed to sound like for the time. So it's raw. Raw is my word, just raw.
She got me to love everything off that album because I don't like everything the original.
Well, she got me to love Missing You off that album.
That's true. That's true. That's that one too.
Yeah, she got me to love Missing You off that.
I just don't understand, JR. I get frustrated with his songs JR don't like and I don't understand. I don't understand why you
everything. Yeah, I mean, I don't understand everything either. Well, let me tell you this. I've never disliked everything. I love everything. I love the stylistics and the sampling and all that other stuff. But I went to see Mary, and I don't even remember what year it is. So my friend Ron is watching. I went to a Mary concert in Richmond, Virginia with my friend Ron. And I call it a Michael Jackson moment. Like, you know how you watch old Michael Jackson clips and you see like the white girls touching Michael and passing out and screaming. Mary started singing everything at this concert, and when I tell you I lost it, like people started clearing out around me, and I'm like, I looked like I was possessed, and I was like crying, and like my friend really didn't know what to do, so he's trying to like comfort me, but it was like I felt everything at that point. And this is in the late 2000s. So after that point, now that song is like, I get it, because what she was singing about may have been one thing, but when I heard it, I related it to my life, and it went to my grandparents, and I was just thinking about, and she was just like, loving and losing, and if you have someone and they're your everything, and that's what happened. I was just like, and so I literally, I hope none of those people are watching today, because they'll be like, oh, that was that little nigga who was on the ground at the Mary show screaming and crying and shit, and Mary singing, and I was just down there just like crying, and my friend trying to pick me up, and he kind of embarrassed. And at this point, I didn't care. Y'all know I don't really be caring about, I never care about being embarrassed, because you will not embarrass me. I'll embarrass you first. I don't care about saying what I got to say to whoever. Hello, Becky. Shout out to the two Beckys. I do what I got to do. Yeah, exactly. I do what I got to do. So yeah, everything. I don't understand why you don't like that. I'm with Elise.
Elise get it now. She got it.
It just clicked why.
She got it.
He don't like the stylistics. And we argue about that all.
You don't like Russell Thompson? What?
He don't. He don't like none of the groups of that time.
You don't like, wait, what do you mean you don't like the stylistics?
You don't like
none of their songs?
Delphonics, Blue Magic, all them people out, all those like.
You don't like Blue Magic?
Sideshow.
All these artists are ones that I like.
What's Come Over Me? You don't like the You don't like the La La. Do you like the Dells? Nah. All right. So
I'm playing.
Welcome to the new R&B representative.
I'm playing.
Manhattans.
You don't like the Manhattan?
My dad actually liked the Manhattans.
Come on.
See what I got to deal with, Eric?
Gerald Austin?
Mm-mm.
Elise, what I told you when we started?
He's from North Carolina, Gerald Austin. But yeah.
Elise, go solo, sis. He ain't real. He don't like the stylistics, the Manhattans, or Blue Magic. Go solo.
If you would have saw a live that we did, you would have knew that.
That was a long time ago. But
I hate you. And wait, I'm gonna say this. I don't be watching y'all because I don't watch myself.
You don't watch nobody.
I don't, which is why like even like the Verses or like the Club Quarantines, I can't never connect because I've worked in live music for so long, or I'm so used to being in person that it's hard for me to connect because I get like very disinterested. The whole quarantine, like all of my favorites were doing concerts, and Elise and I went to see Avery live, and we love Avery Sunshine. I never watched any of it because I was like, yeah, I'd rather just see you live. Like I'm the guy I'm always watching YouTube anyway, so I've already seen these performances. But me not watching does not mean that I'm not loving and supporting.
Oh yeah,
I'm still always gonna do that.
Yeah, I know that. I
you
just
know,
do that, Dag.
I just be like,
They are just being an asshole. That's all.
I was just being funny. That's
well,
all.
that's a shame. This position. He is an asshole.
But now I just don't with the 70s groups. I never did. Like, I never did.
Those are the best groups, though. Like, oh, I just thought about me and Elise singing some of those songs, and I'm excited now.
Ah!
All right. I'm fake. I don't take no side. I play both sides.
You play both exactly.
I'm fake as
Exactly.
Okay. All right. What's the 411 remix album?
My Love.
Woo!
Teddy Riley. My Love. Yeah, I got the same one. Teddy
Yes,
Riley.
God.
My Love.
I want it.
My Love. Yeah.
I would like that.
Heavy D. You know, I don't know what to do without you. My love. My love.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, period.
just that song, even like if you, I don't know, like the listeners can go and listen on YouTube. There's an acapella version, and that's when you really hear like the rawness in Mary's voice, like a young Mary, like
The memories of yesterday when it all felt so right. I was
loving you, kissing you, holding you tight.
I ain't gonna stop. Okay. And it's a shame that you wanna come back now.
Yes. No. Listen. Yeah. That's the first thing that comes to mind is My Love, the first song, and just the way she sang it, and Teddy Riley, and then Heavy D, because y'all know I love Heavy D. So just My Love.
Okay. No More Drama. The album after the Mary album. My folks.
So many thoughts. Okay, the first one that comes to mind is honestly In the Meantime, which is the Rich Harrison song that I was talking about. Like, In the Meantime. That's the first thought. There's another thought from the tour when she sings Never Been, and she's talking about herself, and she's like, I never been loved like this, you know, my big feet, my nappy head, my big lips, and she's like, I love you, love you, love you, love you, love you, I love you, love you, love you, Mary. Like, she turns everything into self-love, and that's what lets me know that she just wants to be loved because she's having to love herself. So yeah, but the first thought is still in the meantime.
What do you do?
There's no one left but
I'm gonna have to play that. Yes. Oh, I thought you was gonna talk about Flying Away.
Well, no, I would have talked about Keep It Moving though, but
oh yeah, she talking her shit on that.
yeah, but no, in the meantime, first thought.
Yeah, we recently played Beautiful Day on the radio show. And it got
I'm living like my days are bad. Okay, Mary girl.
Yo, she was getting her jazz on that.
She was.
What?
we were talking about. We was like, we wish that just for fun, just for shits and giggles, that she just make up the jazz a little.
You know what? Kendu wanted her to do that too, and she kept denying it. Kendu.
Can't do.
Can't do. Got it.
He wanted her to make a jazz album as well, and she never wanted to.
It would be dope.
But I think it would be dope, and I think although he wanted her to make a jazz album, the reason he wanted her to make it is why she didn't want to make it, and that's part of the reason. Like, he was saying, "Oh, you're done, you're through, so just go to jazz now." And she associates that now with "I'm done, I'm through." So I still got to stay hip hop. Although I want her to realize, no, you don't. Like, although you are older and you think, but so are your fans. Like, we are older now, so we don't want to hear
our palates have changed a little.
Right. Yeah. I want to hear shit.
Listen, when even
me and Elise were losing it at that point.
And her jazz scats all come from like Aretha and Dinah Washington and Natalie Cole. Like, she emulates what she's heard them do. And I love that because she does it so well. Like, even when she went on tour in like 2006 and she did The Love I Never Had, and she's doing scatting, and you listen to like Aretha in the early 80s and Luther, you realize, oh, she's singing Aretha over this beat. Like, girl, tell you, Mary will steal an ad lib in a minute.
Yeah. And you brought up like Beautiful Day sounds like it could have been a Natalie Cole song.
It could have been a Natalie Cole song.
Yeah.
And the way she but it's the way she sings it, because Natalie Cole would sing it totally differently.
Oh yeah.
Totally differently. But it was like, I think part of her is like, to do jazz, you have to be a certain way. And it's like, no, you can be you and do jazz. Because tired of living like my days are bad. It's like, okay, Mary.
And that's the beauty of jazz.
Yes, it's the rawness.
Stylings that work.
There's so many stylings, and I know her father was a guitarist and a musician for a band, and I'm not sure if it was jazz or not, but I think that I would love personally to be in a studio with Mary and executive produce a project. I'm not saying I'm a producer, but executive produce and like guide her through this process, because my ear and what I can hear her doing, I think it would be magic.
Mm-hmm. All right. The breakthrough.
The breakthrough. The first word that comes to mind is freedom. It's just freedom, love, freedom. That is actually one of my favorite Mary albums ever.
I know.
And the first time I saw her live while she was performing that album was actually, I was visiting home, South Carolina. I was visiting South Carolina, and my mother bought me 2 tickets to go see Mary in Charlotte, North Carolina. And I took one of my high school friends, and I already knew Mary. You know, I've been a fan for over a decade at that point. But Mary sang About You, the Will I Am song that sampled Nina Simone. And there's a part of the song where her and like Nina's sample are playing at the same time. And she's like, yeah, 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 yeah. And they turned the music down while she was singing. And we were at an amphitheater in North Carolina. And I hate that I don't remember the name of it, but the ground shook just from her vocals. And everybody is looking around, like the audience, we're all looking at each other like, yo, like Mary made the ground shake because she felt this song. So my first thought is always freedom, because I think she realized at that point that her vocals had improved from the Love and Life album, and also that I'm free to just sing whatever I want. And she did that. So freedom.
I agree with that one. Freedom for sure. Because she got to do what she wanted on the breakthrough.
What she wanted, and
because Love and Life, she did.
There were also the vocal moments. Yeah, and if you got the Love and Life DVD, you saw how Hindu were in the studio. I won't say they were manipulating her, but they were trying to trick her a lot, because Puff is like me. Puff is one of the biggest Mary fans in the world.
Mm-hmm.
That can be problematic when you're producing an album for somebody, because he was taking all these first takes from Love and Life where it's like, no, she need to go over that part again. Like the vocals are not perfect. Or it's like, yeah, I know you think this sounds good, but let her go where she wants to go. Puff only works with Mary when there are other producers at play. So when there's a Chucky Thompson in the room who are willing to let Mary go where she wants to go. Mm-hmm. Puff hear the first note and he's like, it's perfect, because he loves Mary. Mm-hmm. All of his other artists will tell you, you can watch when he did the song with Keisha Cole.
He did it like so many takes with her.
Like so many takes with Mary. He'd be like, no, first take is perfect. And I get why, you know, when they first worked together on What's the 411, a lot of those songs are one take, one and done. And he's like, no, that worked. It was perfect. Even with My Life, a lot of those songs are one and done. Mm-hmm. I'm singing one take and it's done. So I think he didn't evolve at the same pace that she evolved.
Yeah.
So it was him trying to keep, he's still looking at her as 21, 22, 23-year-old Mary. And she's like, no, I'm married and I got stepkids now and we got to sing. So.
Right. And I'm just coming off of the Mary album, me being an artist.
Coming off.
Yeah.
And you know you missed out, because you know that I did the damn thing with I Can Love
Without You.
I did the damn thing with Love Is All We Need. So the Share My World album, I did the damn thing. Then I switched it up again and I did the damn thing with the Mary album.
Right.
I switched it up again and I did the damn thing with the No More Drama. I had Jam and Lewis produce one of my signature songs that I still have to perform today. I did the damn thing. So to come together again on Love and Life, it was,
You could tell because she was like, "There's some trickery going on," and
yeah,
I
because
don't think they
now she's older and now she's worked with other people and she knows like it ain't always the first thing I do. I think with Uptown, the first thing that she did was often like they was like, all right, let's take it. Like even a song like Sweet Thing, it's a demo that we're all listening to.
One take, yeah.
It's one take. Like she was recording it to do a special show and they just happened to put it on the album. So it's like people be like, oh, but she don't sing it like Shaka. Well, we don't know how many takes it took for Shaka to do hers.
Right.
Mary did hers in one and they thought it was great, so they put it on. Even if you don't love it, even if you don't love it, I bet when you get to the end of the song, you still singing Mary's ad libs. So
facts.
All right, last one. The London sessions.
The London sessions, Mustang, and I know that does not make any sense, but when that album came out, I think 2013 or 2014. 2014. I had just bought this black Mustang, and I wanted a Mustang forever, but I had just bought a black Mustang that had a sunroof, and Mustangs don't come with sunroofs. So I found one, and I bought it, and had the sunroof installed, and I was living in Northwest DC at the time, and I was working in Falls Church, Virginia. So every day throughout all the traffic, I played that song and that album and that Mustang. And I really fell in love with the album because I spent so much time with it. Because I think if I had not lived where I lived and worked where I worked and I didn't have that commute, I wouldn't have fell in love with the album because I wouldn't have listened like that. Because the first time I heard it, I was just like, Mary, what is this? But the more I listened, I was like, oh, I get it. I see it. I hear it. So Mustang, every time I hear the London sessions right now, I feel like I'm sitting in the driver's seat of a black Mustang with a sunroof, and I'm on I-66 or 495 or wherever, and I'm just Mustang.
I love that. I
love that. Yes, I love that.
It is. It's just
because I'm so glad you didn't like bash it, because a lot of people do.
No, people bash the London sessions.
They do.
I would have bashed it again, like if I had not had that commute and the time to sit with the album, because we don't sit with music anymore. We hear it, and our attention spans are different, and we move on. If I hadn't had that time, I would have not heard songs like "Pick Me Up" or "Nobody But You," or when an artist can sample themselves, like she did on "My Lovin'," and she sampled "My Love" from "My Lovin'."
Mm-hmm.
I was just like, okay, and I'm hearing that you're not as polished as The Breakthrough or as Growing Pains or even as Strong with Each Tear. Like I'm like, you're leaning in more into the essence of Mary. So
that's the pre-divorce album right there.
I mean, that was all right. This is the last.
This is the last.
This is it.
I'm giving you a break.
I'm giving you a break. I'm going to London. I'm gonna record this album. Listen to the words because I'm talking about you. And he didn't listen, and it's his loss, honestly.
Yeah.
Him and what's the girl's name? Sea Anemone or what? Star Neba.
Oh, I don't know Starfish like that.
Starfish or something.
I don't know her.
Whatever her name is, yeah, it was like she messed up too. Like you could have had a career because I do like the one little song that she released with Mary.
Oh, she actually had a song? Oh, okay.
The song that and it literally says because MJB is rocking with me, and then you hear Mary go, ah. It's like Mary was in your corner. She was trying to help you, but you slept with her husband, so whatever. That's right. The family. Fuck the family.
Family, fuck my. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm with y'all.
Woo, me and Eric together. See, we actually was pretty tame today.
We were tame because when Elise and I get together, and Elise and I have had many nights with this.
Mm-hmm.
And if you follow us on social media, you saw because I was posting every moment of it. Elise and I get together, and because I don't remember when I met Elise.
Yeah, I don't remember the exact time.
I don't remember the time. I think I remember around what year it was. So I think we're over a decade now, and if not, we're coming up on a decade. But
About 12 years or so.
Yeah, I remember there was this instant connection, and the connection came. If I can share this, we were in Queen Makita on 9th Street in DC because we were bar hopping, and the DJ played Shalimar, and I didn't know anybody who knew or liked or loved Shalimar the way that I did, and he played Shalimar, and I saw Elise like transform. Like I saw who. Listen, he played Shalimar, and she just came alive like the Roots. Like I was just like, yo, somebody else knows and loves Shalimar, and it was like this freedom and this almost like this joy that she had for it. And I was like, we're gonna be friends. Like I didn't know how, but I was just like, I want to be this girl's friend. And I remember who we were with. I'm not gonna say their names, but we were with people, and I had known them longer than I known Elise. But by the end of that night, I was like, no, Elise is the truth. Like fuck them. I'm not worried about them no more. Because Elise was it was like this love for music. It was this carefree attitude, and it was also just she's kind.
Yeah.
Like she's kind. Like
Yeah.
you're kind. Like there's this kindness that I find in y'all. Aside from the music stuff, there's just like this kindness that I was just like, oh, we did it. Like, what's the song? Looks like we made it. I was like, no, like this feels good. So when I met Elise, I thought that. And I saw her love for music that night. I saw because we were hanging out at hip hop bars. Everything hip hop they played, she was in. And I'm not as big as a hip hop head, so I knew the stuff, but I didn't know it like she did. So I saw her reacting, and I think when I saw her reacting, part of me was like, "Oh no, I'm gonna show her I know music too." If they play some R&B, so when they finally played R&B, it was Shalimar, and I wanted to show her, but I couldn't because she knew that better. I was like, "Oh no!" I was like, "Okay, we gonna be friends." Like she know what she's talking about. Same with you, Junior. Like I was like, "No, you know your stuff." You know, shout out to Lady E. You know, the queen. She the real queen of soul.
Oh my God.
Just saying.
I appreciate hearing that.
Yeah, y'all.
Girl, shut up. Y'all know I don't do this often, so
I know. That's why I'm like,
whatever. Y'all
yes. So tell the folks what you got going on, how we can find you. For folks who don't know, who need to know.
You can find me everywhere on social media. EB for Prez. So that's EB, the number 4, and then Prez is spelled PREZ. It's like Eric B for president. You know, no tricks in '86. It's time to build. You can find me Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Clubhouse. Um, I am. I have a podcast, guys. Behind the Wheels with the one and only international DJ Artistic. We just finished our first season, and the second season will be starting soon. Um, this will probably come out after, but we are part of the Weeksville Heritage Center's Black Music Month program this Saturday.
Yeah.
Also, I'm part of the Soul Savages radio show Thursdays on StudioWBuzz.com. And if you follow me on social media, I have other special things coming that I cannot talk about right now. But follow me on social media. I'm fun. I promise. I'm fun. I will cuss you out, but I do talk about Jesus sometimes. But I also talk about, men and women and, penises and vaginas. Talk about everything. I don't care. But follow me because I'm great. And I know my shit. It took me a long time to be able to say I know my shit because I was like, well, if I say it, they're going to think that I'm like a know-it-all or I'm bougie. But I'm like, no, I know my shit. And when I have people that I grew up listening to or celebrities like co-sign me and be like, no, you know what you're talking about. I'm like, oh, yeah. I guess I should own that. So I know my shit. So follow me in all those places. And yeah, that's it.
Well, thank you. This was very special.
Very special.
No, this was special for me. Thank you guys for asking me because, like I said, I've watched you guys grow and do your thing. And even though I'm not like tuned in like all the time, I do watch clips and snippets, and sometimes I do like sneak in and see stuff. And I'm always so proud. Shut up. I'm always so proud because I think whenever you guys met, I saw when you guys met. That was great. I'm just saying, I saw it, and I didn't imagine that this would be the result. And I knew you guys were special individually, but together, it's almost like, dynamite. Like listen, y'all gonna go so far.
Oh
Elise
no!
in her carefree, sassy attitude,
No.
and the vinyl, and then Junior, the man with the glasses, the yellow glasses.
Don't do it.
Dancing man. No, I'm just serious. Like I've watched you guys do and create and be separately, and then to see it, together as a unit. Y'all about to take over the world, and I'm excited for it. I'm just happy that I'm part of it.
Yes. He gonna be nice again to us for like a year.
Ever.
One more glass of whiskey and it's over for y'all.
Ever.
It's over for y'all hosts. But yeah, again, we thank you, and we love that. Have you back sometime? Talk some shit about something else.
We can always talk shit about music. Y'all know, if I can't talk about nothing else, I can drink and I can talk music. That's all I ever want to do in life.
Yeah, facts. Same.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, thank you everybody for joining us for this episode of Catch That, and we will see y'all next time. Peace.